could be the saviour of the British economy. With Brexit on the horizon and staggering growth, the UK economy is looking for a lift. New research by PwC says that it should turn to drones. Yep, the real thing. The study estimates that the boost to GDP by these things could be as much as $55 billion by the year 2030. Now, PwC expects over 76,000 drones flying in the British skies in 12 years' time. That would create nearly 630,000 jobs, even though one news anchor may actually lose it as a result. How can these drones, with the prospect of artificial intelligence, how can they, in any shape or form, be a saviour of an economy? Rana Farah is back with us without a drone nearby. Rana, you have written books on artificial intelligence and productivity. Do you see the advantage of these sort of things in the way PwC does?
Well, look, if you look historically at tech-based disruption, it has always been a net new job creator. So that's definitely true. Now, I've been a bit of a tech skeptic recently because I think that the pace, the breadth of change is happening so quickly that I think it's going to be very, very difficult for the labor force to retool fast enough. That said, longer term, yeah, I can believe that drones as an industry might create jobs. The question is, what are we going to do in the next sort of 5 years while they're displacing a lot of workers who don't have training to do other things?
Okay, that is a fundamental issue that goes to the core of everything to do with economics at the moment. How we actually deal with the change that's taking place. But I wonder, if you take AI and you add drones, the sort of jobs that they will take, those people, can they be retrained for something else?
You know, that's the million-dollar question, Richard. I think it's going to, frankly, have to be a combination of retraining and a greater social safety net. But that then begs the question, particularly in countries like the UK, but in most developed countries, the public sector is under siege, right? The public sector has record levels of debt. There are populist politicians coming in. The government is in really no position to be ramping up spending, even though that's exactly what you're going to need. Greater educational spending, a social safety net under people as they lose their jobs and transition. I think, frankly, we're also going to just have to think about what's the meaning of work. Are we going to have to structure our lives differently? These are big questions.
But they're big questions, Rana, and what I worry about is that they are so big questions that we don't worry about them. Look, come on.
Couldn't agree more.
Whether you go back to spinning jennies and children up down mines, or whether you go back to the first era of computerization, productivity, the assembly line, unless the round trees of the day are no longer there, people with big thoughts don't exist.
Well, you know, that's absolutely right, particularly in the public sector. You know, I think that there are interesting private sector initiatives. There's actually a lot of action in education coming from businesses, because businesses are desperate. I mean, they realize, you know, not only do they need entirely different workforces, but they're in the firing line. Everyone's going to point to them when the jobs go away and say, you need higher taxes. We need to reform the way companies work. And they're trying to head that off by doing things like innovating in education. But how the public and private sector are going to work together in this area, big, big challenge.
Rana, thank you. Good to talk to you. Lovely to talk about these bigger issues tonight. Thank you very much indeed, doing double duty for us. We'll have a look at the markets, and how perfect to talk about the markets when you've got a drone. Because if you look at what happens with the markets over the last few months, well, the markets have gone up very sharply. And then they went down just as sharply again. And then they went back up again. And today we saw the markets which went down and continued going down, and they went all the way down. The question, of course, is what happens tomorrow with the markets, up or down? Profitable moment after the break.